If you think you have control over your thoughts, reactions, and behavior, I must inform you that you are wrong. Below I will introduce you to the laws you need to know and apply if you want to become an expert in persuasion. The law of reciprocity illustrates how we respond to kindness and good service, such as leaving a good tip at a restaurant where the staff is attentive. This response stems from a sense of moral obligation. Imagine if you received the opposite treatment, poor service, rude staff. Most likely, the tip will be less or none. This law reminds us that what you give, you receive, is a fundamental principle for human coexistence. Reflect on your actions and behaviors, as these determine what you will receive in life. This may be known by different names, such as karma or cause and effect, but the idea of reciprocity is essential to our survival and well-being. The law of contrast suggests that things seem more attractive or valuable when compared to something less desirable. For example, white stands out more against a black background, a small candle seems more powerful in the dark, and you feel richer when you are around someone with less money. This principle also applies in buying situations, such as when two products are presented together, one less attractive but at a discount, and one more eye-catching but more expensive. In this case, many customers will opt for the most eye-catching product. This phenomenon is based on our tendency to perceive things relatively. Psychology has shown how contrast influences our perceptions and decisions. For example, something may feel lighter after carrying something heavy, or someone may seem more competent if a less qualified option presents itself first. To avoid being influenced by this law of contrast, it's important to evaluate things individually and not get carried away by comparisons. The law of affinity refers to the connection that exists between two people because of their similarity. It's uncommon to say no to someone you like. Herbert Spencer, known as the father of Darwinism, argues that opinions are formed more by emotions than by intellect. Ultimately, it's these emotions that influence purchasing decisions. To increase sales, it's crucial to appeal to feelings rather than reason. This strategy is used by pyramid companies and sellers who sell products to friends and family as they rely on personal recommendations. This dynamic not only applies to sales, but also to teamwork, where affinity is critical to persuade each member of the group and achieve a successful project. In short, affinity plays a crucial role in sales, effective team building, and any interpersonal relationship. The key to maintaining this law in the long run is to be honest and avoid falsehood. The law of expectation states that your thoughts will influence your results. As Gene Walton, the founder of Walmart, put it, high expectations are the key to achieving everything. The expectations you set for yourself will determine the success you achieve in life, as they act as the necessary impetus for your goals to materialize. A glaring example of this law is the placebo effect. By administering someone with a sugar pill into believing it is medicine, they are likely to experience relief simply from the belief in its effectiveness. The law of expectation has significant power and, therefore, implies great responsibility. If you maintain positive expectations, your dreams are likely to come true. However, if you focus on negative expectations, they could become your worst nightmare. Therefore, it is crucial to exercise caution when setting the expectations that will guide your life. The law of association dictates that if an influencer uses a product, it must be of quality. Currently, brands use this law to promote their products, either through celebrities or influencers. You've likely witnessed this strategy on multiple occasions, where public figures endorse articles in advertising campaigns. This phenomenon occurs due to the recognition of the power of associating products and ideas with influencers. As a result, people tend to link the perception they have of that person to the quality of the product. On many occasions, you have purchased products recommended by someone you admire, regardless of their quality. You trust that person and make the purchase simply because of their endorsement, associating the product with their reputation, trend, or prestige. The law of consistency is based on delivering what is promised. For example, imagine you are a frequent traveler and you're always staying at the same hotel chain. One day, you receive an invitation to a breakfast where you will be introduced to the new benefits for loyal customers. You accept the invitation without hesitation, intrigued to know what's new. Upon arrival, you are faced with direct questions about your employment and financial situation. Subsequently, you are assigned to an advisor who asks you more questions, to which you answer yes to all of them. Finally, the advisor offers you additional benefits in exchange for a small monthly fee. Although you initially said no, the seller seeks to overcome your objections by adjusting the price, the length of the service, and adding extra advantages. This way, you feel pressured to say yes, even if it means a loss or an unnecessary expense. This situation illustrates how people tend to follow through on what they say, even when it's not the most appropriate choice, due to the human inclination toward consistency, which is perceived as a source of truth and security. Thus, the law of consistency is used to persuade people to keep their word, even if it is not always the most convenient thing to do. The law of scarcity operates on the principle that the less available something is, the more desirable it becomes. This persuasion tactic is commonly employed by companies to promote their products, whether in airlines, hotels, or shopping malls, using exclusive or limited edition products. The rarity of a product catches people's attention, as it arouses interest in owning something that is not available to everyone. This perception of scarcity increases the perceived value of the product. A historical example is the case of De Beers in the 1970s, when it controlled most of the world's diamond supply. To keep prices high, they limited supply by holding large quantities of diamonds without bringing them to market, thus creating a sense of scarcity that drove up prices and generated significant profits for the company. Scarcity not only sparks interest, but also creates a sense of fashion and exclusivity around the product. The perception that not everyone can get it increases its appeal and causes speculation about the product. For this reason, people are willing to stand in lines to get their hands on it, and once in their hands, they can't help but brag about owning something unique and difficult to acquire. The law of authority dictates that people tend to obey authority figures, assuming their instructions are correct. For example, would you agree to take a pill if a doctor tells you to? Surely yes, because you trust their authority and knowledge. This phenomenon extends to various areas where people follow the rules and guidelines of authority figures such as doctors, police, politicians, and leaders. Milgram's famous experiment is evidence of this dynamic, where it was shown how people tend to obey instructions even when they contradict their personal principles. I recommend that you look for more information about this experiment if you want to dive deeper into this law. The law of cohesion, also known as the law of blackmail, involves someone offering or threatening something in exchange for another person doing or not doing something. This process seeks to manipulate the other individual's feelings, whether love, guilt, resentment, fear, or desire, in order to gain one's own benefit. For example, if your sister sees you break a cup and you ask her not to say anything to your mother, she might respond by saying, "I won't say anything if you tidy up my room for a month." This is how this law of persuasion operates, using emotions to achieve a desired exchange. The law of attractiveness states that one's perception of oneself influences how others perceive us. While beauty and appeal can vary depending on individual contexts, they are not limited solely to the visual, but also include aspects such as scent, posture, and confidence. This principle affects our self-image, as the better we feel about ourselves, the more confident we will be to express our opinions. Several studies suggest that attractiveness is linked to a higher level of income, social skills, and self-confidence. The law of power holds that people are influenced by those who promise benefits or improvements, such as politicians who promise economic or professional improvements to society. This dynamic is based on ego and personal survival. Within this law, nefarious power is distinguished, where people follow those who can give or take away what they desire, such as love, security, or a sense of belonging. On the other hand, leadership is opposed to nefarious power, as it is based on ideas and convictions rather than manipulation. Leadership is often confused with the authority of office, but it is different to be followed by obligation than to be followed by one's own choice. The law of incentive involves getting something extra out of choosing an option. This dynamic is common during shopping, such as when offering an additional product when purchasing another. People tend to respond to stimulus and rewards, even unconsciously. These incentives aren't limited to money. Many companies use mileage programs, exclusive benefits, awards, or discounts to attract customers. Incentives act as powerful motivators, either in oneself or others, generating meaningful results. The law of the unconscious states that the unconscious mind operates simultaneously with the conscious mind, often influencing our perceptions and decisions in subtle ways. Companies take advantage of this by sending messages to consumers' subconscious to drive the purchase of their products. Advertisements on television or social media are common examples of how this law is used. They are designed to stimulate the desire to consume a specific product without the viewer being fully aware of it. Experts in this law can influence people's behavior by planting ideas in their minds in a discrete way, thus shaping their actions and preferences almost imperceptibly. The law of antagonism suggests that people tend to unite against a common evil. In marketing, it is argued that brands need competition to grow. In the workplace, this law is used to persuade individuals to perform tasks they do not want. For example, imagine someone who constantly questions all opinions. To handle this person, you can adopt a specific strategy. When listening to their point of view, repeat it to show empathy and support. Then, wait for their reaction. It is likely to suggest another perspective. Thus, not finding a reason to argue, this person will be more open to considering alternatives. The law of precedent states that when something has happened and has been successful, people tend to believe that it is likely to happen again. Based on this premise, new laws, behaviors, processes, or ideas may arise simply because something has happened previously, thus preventing the repetition of mistakes. This law provides an effective form of persuasion. For example, in a business setting, a superior may be convinced to accept an idea by presenting evidence that another company implemented it in the past and was successful. In addition, this law makes it possible to influence a person's attitude by showing them the positive results that someone else obtained by adopting a similar behavior. The law of writing states that what is documented has more weight and authority than what is communicated verbally without leaving a record. Legal professionals, especially, take advantage of this law deftly, as they can win cases based solely on written evidence, without the need for oral argumentation. As a society, we tend to respect what is written because we perceive greater authority in it. For example, when buying a product from a store, we are likely to respect the price marked on the label, as it is documented. However, if someone offers to buy a product on the street without any document to back up the price, it is common to try to negotiate or reduce the cost. This illustrates how writing confers a sense of authority and legitimacy that influences our actions. The law of faith states that people accept and act on their deeply held beliefs, even without concrete evidence. It is exemplified by a meeting between Rabbi Israel Merillau and Pope John Paul II, where the latter tells a story about a Catholic woman who raised a Jewish child after World War II. Respecting his parents' wishes for the child to grow up in Israel. This story is significant because the rabbi reveals that he was that child and the Catholic parish priest was the Pope. It highlights how faith can guide people's actions, even when they obey the norms or beliefs of others, being considered the most powerful force of persuasion, and those who understand it can powerfully influence the world. The law of metaphor highlights that the complexity of reality can be difficult to comprehend, so resorting to metaphors makes it easier to understand. By comparing one idea to another, layers of meaning are added that can evoke both positive and negative emotions. In this way, metaphors make the message more accessible and emotionally resonant, acting as a vehicle for conveying ideas. By employing metaphors, it is possible to influence the reader's perception subconsciously, either by generating a favorable or unfavorable impression about the topic at hand. Jesus Christ had amazing skills with using metaphors and parables. The law of surprise emphasizes that the unexpected has significant persuasive power. Although some people may not appreciate being surprised, most enjoy these types of experiences, whether in an entertainment context, in a conversation, or in an everyday activity. In business settings, this law can be clearly observed when gifting details to customers or exceeding their service expectations. This surprise gesture can be so persuasive that customers might be willing to pay more just for the unexpected experience. The law of praise points out that flattery is hard to resist. You've probably managed to get out of a situation by praising the other person. However, for this praise to be effective, it must be subtle and not obvious. The more discreet the compliment, the more impact it will have, as people often react defensively when they perceive that they are being manipulated. The law of social proof: if many people say or do it, it must be true. Have you ever observed people lining up to buy something? This scene leads us to think that the product in question is one of the best on the market. Companies understand this principle very well, as the more demanded a product is, the greater the interest it generates. For example, when Apple launches a new product, there are individuals who wait for days to be the first to buy it. What would you think if no one showed interest in the new release? You'd probably conclude that it's not worth it, as the lack of demand indicates that it's not as desired. This is how social proof influences our decisions and desires, leading us to conform to the mainstream. The law of simplicity states that if you can do something simple, you will have a greater influence. Winston Churchill illustrated this principle with his famous quote, "If I have to give a 2-hour speech, it will take me 10 minutes to prepare it. If I have to give a 10-minute speech, it will take me at least 2 hours to prepare it." While something may be simple, this doesn't mean it's easy. Often, the simple takes more time and effort than the complex. For example, Apple's first iPod, which had only one button, looked very simple. However, behind that simplicity was a great deal of work and time invested. The most successful ads tend to have short and concise content, while the salespeople who manage to close the most deals are the ones who use simple and direct language with their customers. Now that you're familiar with the most important laws of persuasion, it's important to stay vigilant so that you don't get influenced by these laws without realizing it. Thank you for watching the video. See you in an upcoming video. Success and motivation wishes you your favorite YouTube channel.